climbed a mountain, ever caught a fish, ever looked to the stars and made a wish, ever shot a bow and arrow in the dead of night, ever read a map, ever flew a kite, ever made a fire, ever sang a song, ever tried to run a marathon, ever put yourself to the test, or do your best, or do your best.
Fairly good, I thought.
Hey.
First time's a charm as well. I think, is that the first time we got it right? First time for a while.
Yeah, first time with the first time. Yeah, that was it. That was in. Yeah, that was good. Fiery.
It was. It was.
How you doing this week?
I'm all right. Yeah, I feel I've recovered from my travels somewhat.
So where did you travel?
I travelled all over the UK. So went to
land.
Sussex, went to Worthing, Brighton, Manchester, York, Bristol, back to PZ.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's around. I mean, how many places is that?
I don't know. That's a lot of major
It's a lot
cities.
of places, and how many days? A week? So
Yeah,
8
it was
days?
about a little bit over a week.
Yeah, that's brutal.
They're all like, all of those places are sort of beautiful. Well, I'm not sure about Worthing being beautiful, but but they're all mostly sort of beautiful in many ways, shitty in other ways. I think that's true of a lot of places in the UK.
Yeah, it's true of everything.
And through the correct sort of rose tinted, shandy sheen glasses, like everything looks beautiful, but also at the same time can also look fucking awful. Like, you know, walk round the wrong back alley and it's, everything's grim again, and you got a hangover. And you're like, ugh.
York, though, right? What's that like? I've never been to York, and that seems to me like it would still be ye olde York.
It is, yeah. So like York has got like,
has it got jutting bits?
It does have jutting bits. It's also got pubs that like have, I think they're called like vaulted fronts or something. So you've actually got the rooms come out into the street, if you see what I mean, but like in a different order. So you've got like the side rooms, you can actually see how they kind of come into the street and things like that. Really
right.
Higgledy-piggledy. I'm not really sure. I think that's just the way they were constructed.
Yeah, just a lot of higgledy. But that's how I imagine York, like cobbled streets, higgledy-piggledy, little laneways, stuff like that.
They're called something like snickleways or something, the little tiny little alleyways, which was a totally made-up term some guy came up with in the 80s,
right.
Mixed together all these words.
Nuts.
But yeah, there was a little map of snickleways. But apparently it's one of the big inspirations for Diagon Alley in the Harry Potter.
Oh, yeah.
The very popular Harry Potter series.
Yeah, it's quite popular. Might have heard of it.
Well, I always thought it was the lanes in Brighton that had inspired it, but actually going through I was like, okay, this is a bit more like it. This is actually more.
I was under the impression it was a specific street in Edinburgh.
But then when you think about that street, maybe it looks different now than the way it did when Rowling was writing her masterpieces. But doesn't look very medieval. It doesn't. There are bits of Edinburgh that do look medieval, but that street doesn't really. It's mostly Harry Potter shops now. That in all honesty, that's what it is.
Yeah.
But in York, it's like you walk down a street and you'll get like it's like Tudor buildings kind of leaning in on themselves.
Yes. That is sort of more.
Once again, though, what were once probably like little sort of exotic shops selling like, I don't know, sweets and whatever. I mean, there still is that. There's a Rollies fudge pantry, you know, they're still selling sweets, but it is a lot of Harry Potter shops. There's like the shop who will not be named, and there are queues for it like all around the block. So that's a really weird thing about like art imitating life as well, when a writer being inspired by a place, and then that place becomes a kind of Muck Disney World for the
writer's work.
Yeah, in a way. I guess that's kind of like the crazy Hemingway festival on the Channel 5 thing where everyone's dressed as Hemingway.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Or a bit like, just a bit like Camden. Generally.
Yeah, Camden is definitely like a pastiche of what Camden was.
Yeah.
Whereas I say that as if I was there, like, I remember what it was like in the 1960s.
Yeah, I remember,
when we were real punks, you know. But I don't remember it at all. But I assume that was the case, that then it was authentic and legit.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a lie unto itself, though. Maybe they were
exactly
imitating something that was earlier or before it.
Yeah, or like migrating some sort of style from East End, you know, just sort of moved when someone moved to Camden. So like, no, well, we'll do it here now.
Or were they also? Did punk actually start in England? Is it something that happened in London, or did it start in America? Was it going on with like the Ramones and stuff independently?
I think the Ramones claim that they started it.
They invented punk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Johnny Ramone, is that his name?
Yeah. Because that's what, like 1960 or something.
Probably
like
not Johnny, is it? No,
I think it's Johnny Ramone. Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think, wasn't there a Dee Ramone as well?
Might be Dee, yeah.
I think he's the drummer.
Dee. I think they claim that they sort of did punk like a year or two before
anybody else.
Like the Sex Pistols, I guess 77 would be right. Would be when they say punk pink.
But also, if you
started.
But also, I mean, although
and that would have just been Sex, right? That shop Sex.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and that was very much what the Sex Pistols were, like an invented sort of supergroup, weren't they?
Totally invented, yeah, like by McLaren, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Vivian Westwood. Or was
Vivian
it just,
Westwood, yeah.
Or was it just?
I think McLaren and Westwood both had the shop Sex, and I think they certainly were like in really. Did they pull together a band though, or did they find a band and go here?
Yeah,
this will be fun.
I think they actually pulled them together. I don't know if they knew each other.
Well, it must have been something to do with Lydon, like
because he's got already
Mr. Rotten. It must have been something to do with him because he doesn't talk about. I've heard him talking about like when he brought Sid into the band.
Yeah.
He's like, he's my mate.
Yeah. Oh, really? Maybe it's that then. Maybe there's. I don't know the full story really. I mean, I heard that they couldn't play their own instruments and they were taught how to play them, for the band.
Which is great.
And obviously that they wore the clothes that they were given by the shop, which makes perfect sense, really.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy, that idea as well of inventing a band in order to sell products. Now that wouldn't seem so crazy.
I mean, they talk about things like that quite a lot. They call them like industry plants.
Right. Yeah.
Not like a cheese plant or a,
right.
acacia, but like stooges.
Who've been inserted in.
And I guess they don't mean people that are clearly, like Harry Styles. Like he's like 100%. He's like on the talent show.
Yeah.
And then he's like in the big boy band, and now he's like
Harry
Styles.
So he's gone from being like a mere mortal to actually a god.
And everyone sees that, and everyone goes, he's like backed up by the.
He's not like a fabricated event which has been chosen, and
he's not like a band that comes out and then are like maybe so good and no one's heard of them before.
Yeah, exactly.
But everyone thinks like everything about them is like really on point, and then like people are like industry plant.
Yeah.
I don't think I agree with that.
But is that like if you suddenly went from like one view on Instagram to suddenly like 1 million because they've already been?
I guess so. I don't think I really agree with that stuff, because even if, say you went to a label and went, I've got this idea, like Lady Gaga did, right? She was just like Stephanie before that, and I think she went to Jimmy McIver, I can't remember now, Jimmy McVine or something like that. He's the guy like responsible for signing like Eminem.
Holy shit! Right.
And like a load of other people. There's a great documentary about it, and I think Lady Gaga sort of went in to him and said like, look, like I've got this idea, Lady Gaga, and like I do this, and this is the persona, and then. Yeah, and he went, yeah, brilliant, let's do it.
Okay, great.
And then she's massive. You could also say that that's an industry plant, couldn't you?
Right.
Or does it have to be an idea not of an artist?
That they sort of came up with. Well, I suppose... that
would be the entirety of all Motown.
It's funny, you think about how like someone invents like a character in like a novel or like a comic book or something.
Yeah.
I presume with an industry plant, they're like, what are we missing? We're missing this gap in the market. We need a guy or a girl who's like this. Then we sketch them out. They're like, they'll wear outfits like this. They'll appear like this. They'll have these kind of political attitudes or lack of political attitudes.
Yeah.
And then it's about finding someone who fits that bill and kind of...
And also talented enough to prop up the...
But maybe also at the same time they know that person would have to have a history, that it would look weird if there was no like paper trail. You don't just get suddenly someone not gigging and then becoming something, right? It's like Lana Del Rey was like a total nobody for a long time as like Lizzie something or other.
Yeah.
And then by the time she released her first album as Lana Del Rey, she was like totally redesigned and
Yeah.
And totally sounded different.
Yeah.
And I
Well,
wonder
wasn't
if
that
that's-
wasn't that her prerogative?
Or was that was that
or
something
was it
she
not?
did, or was it something some label was like, we can change you? I don't
Yeah.
know.
That's why I don't think
Maybe
industry
it's like a
plant means
conspiracy.
anything.
Maybe it's just another kind of conspiracy thing.
Yeah, it just doesn't mean anything. It's just like yeah.
I was reading earlier. I don't know. I end up reading like mirror articles in anticipation of this podcast.
Yeah.
all the
Okay.
time.
Yeah.
There's the only time I'd ever read the Mirror, and the one of them.
Sure.
It was about yeah.
I promise.
I look at it to see myself, and I was I was looking at an article about Kanye West and his current girlfriend.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Sometimes I do actually catch my brain just literally looking at shit, allowing itself just to absorb like real shit that has no.
Yeah.
I haven't heard any Kanye West album. Not because I don't like his music. I actually quite like it quite a lot. But I haven't heard any albums for the last few years.
Yeah.
I haven't really been keeping up to speed. But all of a sudden I was like, okay, what's going on with these guys? And basically nothing was happening. It was him walking down the street with his girlfriend. I think she was maybe wearing an outfit they considered racy. The Mirror were like, oh, that's a bit racy, isn't it, guys? But they're fine. They're normal adults having a nice evening out.
Yeah.
And then they've got a body language specialist in. The Mirror have hired one, right, to attack the moment itself. And she's like, well, clearly she needs an intervention. It looks here like Kanye, the way that he's slightly tilting his shoulder, like he's not really into her, he's not really observing her, and he really doesn't care about her or her body. And it's like, who the fuck is it? Is this actually someone with a degree?
Well,
unbelievable.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know where to unpack this to begin.
Yeah.
Like, are the Mirror really going out there finding specialists?
Yeah.
Or are they like, Jane, what do you reckon? You know, like, you're quite good with people. You're good with people. You know, like that.
You're an empath, Jane.
You're an empath. Yeah. Oh, you feel. Like, I'm a real empath. You know, that kind of thing where people have. What do they say sometimes? Like, oh yeah, he's a really good judge of character.
Yeah.
She's a really good judge of character.
Yeah, she could be a body language specialist. Yeah.
In whose point of view? Because what kind of characters are we after here?
Yeah.
What kind of character is the good character? I mean, you could go like, sort of Stando, sort of like sort of biblical style. Like, okay, he's good. Like this person won't murder you.
Yeah.
Is that a good judge of character, or is that normal?
Yeah.
Is that just
make that?
That's just mediocre judge of character.
I think a good judge of character would be someone who basically takes no chances on people. So
See,
they're always just like, they've got a very select crew around them at all times.
Yeah, to me that wouldn't be a good judge of character. Someone that would be a good judge of character would be able to see through someone who's maybe been touted as a bad character.
Yeah.
And then they go, hold on, guys.
Yeah, actually,
maybe
he's got a heart of gold.
Maybe this person's misunderstood. And then maybe like 70 years later, it was misunderstood.
Yeah, and then he's like,
see, told you I was a good judge of character. Now that's a good judge of character.
Yeah.
You can't just go, oh, he's a good judge of character.
There's like a bit, I think it's in...
I think we'd all like to think we're all good You've never met anyone that goes like, I'm just a really bad judge of character, really.
Yeah.
Unless you're talking about like, an episode of like Sex and the City. Or Ally McBeal.
McBeal. Like, I feel like I'm not a good judge of character. I feel like what I am is... is good at being rubbed the wrong way. I can't even say that. Good at being rubbed the wrong way.
Okay.
In the sense that
rubbed up.
Yeah. So as soon as somebody has said something or slightly I don't like, I'm like, right, well, I'm done with them.
What they're the.
And people are like, Bob, what is the deal? And I'm like, I can't be doing with them anymore. So in doing so, and then I do occasionally take relish 10 years later, and I'm like, did you see? But it was over nothing. It was over the slightest.
Yeah.
They slightly like brush a tiny paperclip across the table. I'm like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Which is I don't think it's a good judge of character. Just to warn you, by the way, that laptop is trying to switch itself off.
Oh no! Good God.
Okay. Slight technical issues.
I'll go over there.
No problem at all.
I'll go over there.
Step aside. Keep the podcast alive.
No, just leave it blank. Leave the podcast blank.
Should we do it blank?
Yeah, should we do the podcast blank from here?
Who's that?
Hey, we're back.
Oh. Talking about being a good judge of character being rubbed the wrong way.
Yeah, I saw that there's a small island, one of the Sicily, right, in Italy. There's a very small island, one of the Sicilian islands, has got this really bad problem with goats at the moment.
What's great is I saw the headline, but I didn't click on it. So please, what's going on?
Well, they're giving away all of their goats.
Yeah.
Because the goats are like messing up with all of the crops and stuff. They're eating all the crops.
Oh no!
So currently, you can get free goats.
Yeah.
They're giving them to anyone that wants them.
Wow. What you just pay for postage essentially?
I think so.
Wow, that's incredible.
So free goats.
And
Italian goats.
So how did they get so many goats?
I don't know.
Something's going on. I mean, presumably it's like rabbits in the sense that they like to breed, but they must have.
Yeah.
But is it?
Unlike, I mean, the only thing that doesn't that we know is the Japanese and pandas.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. They're the only things in decline.
But is it also? I feel like I remember reading the headline and it said goats outnumber humans on island or something.
Oh, I didn't read that one, but
I think that's what. Well, maybe the one I was reading was suggesting that. And is it that it's a serious? So you said it was a crop issue.
I think that's what it is. I think it's a crop issue. They're just like they fucking own the place.
God.
And everyone's trying to get. I just thought, why don't they just eat them?
I just thought that. Why don't they have like some kind of crazy goat curry?
But maybe
festival?
Italians don't eat goats. Maybe they're like I've never heard of Italians like.
It's terrible.
Like that was bad. Yeah, but I just don't think they want to eat goats.
Yeah, maybe.
Have you ever eaten a goat?
I have. Yeah, once. I thought it was a supremely chewy experience. Seems like one of those things you've got to boil for like 10 hours and then it'd be really good.
That sounds like nothing would be good if you boiled it for 10 hours. But maybe they would be. I wouldn't. I've eaten some goat and I thought it was great.
Well, I feel bad about it because they probably are quite nice animals. They've always got a bad rap, the goats. That's the thing, because they've got like associations with the devil, with paganism.
No smoke without fire.
No smoke without fire, but also the concept of the scapegoat as well. So like they used to send a goat out into the forest to die to take on the sins of the people, and eventually at some stages that was replaced by human beings or like people with disabilities or prisoners. So all that idea of the scapegoat.
Don't make me the scapegoat. No one wants to be the scapegoat.
So they've had a lot of bad times, and eventually, of course, the final one, the devil Baphomet.
Yeah,
Baphomet. With the like, so it's not very good for the goats, and they're probably just rather charming creatures.
I think they're really nice, man. The Slipknot album Iowa features artwork which is a goat in embryo.
Oh really? Oh wow!
Really nice. Yeah, super cute. Other good goats are the ones that when they're slightly startled fall over.
Oh yeah, they're constantly fainting. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, the fainting goat.
Is a baby goat called a goatee?
Is it?
No, I don't know.
Yeah. Dave Chappelle.
Yeah.
He's the goat.
He's the goat. Oh yeah. I swear, for the longest time, for a whole year or something, I never knew what that meant, and I was too afraid to ask.
Oh, same for ages.
Yeah, and I was like, yeah, I know, man.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't really know what that means. Speaking of animals, a couple of animal things that come to my mind. In fact, all I have to talk about is animals.
Good.
They managed to find the Attenborough echidna, which they literally, I don't think has ever been caught on camera before. So they only found it in the 60s, and they haven't seen it since. But now they had like 500 people climbing up a mountain in like South America, trying to find this fucker. And it basically only comes out of burrows at night. It's very shy.
Yeah.
It lays eggs. This is the weird thing. So this creature and the platypus are the few creatures that are mammals, but they also lay eggs.
Duck-billed.
Duck-billed platypus.
Yeah.
So they lay eggs. But it looks kind of weird. It looks a bit like an anteater with the head of like the kiwi bird. It's very strange. Cool. Like a little one though. It's very strange. But they found it. It's a big deal apparently for some reason. I can't really remember why. I thought it was exciting. This is another moment where I confuse Japan with China, because there was I thought when I found this exciting article about a cat, I thought that it was like almost a return to the Ting Sao bandit.
Oh, cool.
Notoriously, if anyone listens to the podcast, they might remember the moment that a bandit broke into the Tsingtao factory and pissed directly into one of the beer barrels.
With a cone on his head.
With a traffic cone on his head. I believe he was found. I'm not sure what the actual updates were, but I can't imagine in China that it was an easy time for him.
Yeah, that wouldn't have gone down well.
But it did prevent the sales of Tsingtao, as people will know who've listened to the earlier episode.
Or drinkers of Tsingtao.
Exactly. Now, what has happened is in Japan, there's been a factory which it develops chromium, like liquid chromium.
And what's chromium?
I don't know, but in my head, it's what you'd put on like one of the Terminator robots when they come out in that skeletal form, you know. Right. I think it's some kind of liquid metal chromium.
Okay, cool.
I don't know. I think it is.
Sounds great.
And anyway, what they didn't check for in this factory, presumably it was traffic cone wearing pissman proof, but what it wasn't approved for was creatures small enough to get in through some of the ventilation systems, such as a cat.
Yeah.
So a cat managed to get in, dropped like the Joker directly into a vat of chromium, which is apparently incredibly radioactive in its form.
Wow.
And then scuttled away. So it got out of the vat and then ran away. And they only know this because the next day they saw all these paw prints in chromium leading all through the factory and then out of the ventilation system again.
That's so cute.
And they were like, no! But because what it means is there's a radioactive cat that's now going around. And drum roll, please, because we just talked about this before the podcast, in Fukushima.
So Fukushima, cool.
So in Fukushima, there were already all these problems because I know very little about it, but there was some kind of radiation spill that happened.
Yes.
Some kind of explosion, implosion.
That wasn't even that long ago.
It wasn't that long ago.
No.
But now they've got a cat on the loose that's covered in chromium, that's radioactive chromium, and they're telling people you've got to watch out for this cat because if it's coming to you, you got to so that's
you got to get away from it.
You got to get away from it.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
But,
because of is it Fukushima?
Yeah.
We were talking about that because of the musical artist Fukushima Dolphin.
Absolutely, who I saw busking in Brighton the other day.
Yeah.
And we were saying that we had a drink with him once upon a time.
A long time ago, but yeah, he was just he was part of the, probably still is, of the musical. The lower echelons of musical
I was going to say
artists.
we should at him then, but then when you said lower echelons, it was
but that was back then.
Yeah, exactly.
That was back then. That's when I was in there as well. That's why it was the lower echelons. I was being self-deprecating. I wasn't trying to have a stab at the old FD.
Yeah. The Maestro FD.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout
FD.
out to FD, Fukushima Dolphin.
I have one last animal story to add,
right?
Which is that apparently they've started to find, basically, I think this was just literally a couple of years ago. They were knocking about somewhere. I can't remember where it was. Some usually snowy place where the ice has melted, and they found a brown grizzly bear there, and they were like, "What the fuck is a grizzly bear doing
a BGB
in the polar, where the polar shit should be?"
Okay.
And then they actually took its DNA, and it turned out it was a polar bear, but it was totally brown like a normal grizzly bear.
Oh, cool.
Like, what's going on? So they started doing some investigations, probably tracking some Fukushima paw prints of their own.
Yeah.
And ended up discovering that it was a crossbreed of a bear, of a grizzly bear with a polar bear.
Oh, this is exciting.
And it's because of the ice caps melting and snow melting that the two have started to meet and actually hang out.
And they started to fuck.
Yeah, they actually started to copulate. And in certain areas, they found more and more of these bears. I think they found the reverse as well, so grizzlies that were white. And they were like, okay. So then they started tracking them down and taking little samples of their blood. And then it turned out they were kind of all coming from one female polar bear mother that was giving birth to all these grizzly cubs.
Wow, cool.
And apparently she just has this particular desire and interest in grizzly bears.
So cool.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
But this brings to mind an interesting problem that's going on with how climate change is affecting the way that animals are interacting that never would interact to begin with. So apparently this is also happening in fishing communities,
right,
where pikes that would usually never interact with some other fish that I've completely forgotten the name of because they would usually be different times of year. They'd be like passing ships in the night because when spring turns into summer, they would never see each other. But now, because the spring's starting early and the summer's out of whack, they start meeting and they're like, actually, we're a compatible species that would never normally meet. They get together and they create crossbreeds where all their scales and all their patterns are all merged together.
No way.
But bizarrely, when they looked into them, they found that their genitals were, I don't know why I found that so funny as I said that then, their genitals were too small to actually reproduce. So some of them are essentially completely sterile.
Oh, so they're just new sterile beasts.
They're like new beasts, new hybrids, but they can't
crack on.
Yeah, exactly.
Ah.
Now, I don't know if that's also the case for zonkies and ligers.
I don't know if it is either, but I've got a feeling that it is.
They're like an anomaly, but then you can't go any further. You can't keep going.
Yeah, I've got that feeling. Yeah, ligers.
But
yeah,
also,
that's what you mean. Yeah.
But we ourselves are crossbreeds of Neanderthal and human beings as well.
Right. Okay.
So we are ones that manage to survive.
Right.
Because we're not wholly human and we're not wholly Neanderthal. Right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
I don't
Sounds
know,
like a
dude.
bunch of shit, doesn't
Yeah,
it? I don't know
about that.
But anyway,
I certainly don't feel human most days.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
And you do see dudes as well. Like, do you ever see Monica the Glen?
Loved Monica the Glen.
I love that show as well.
Oh,
Although
Monica
I did meet the main dude who runs the Monarch or whatever.
The young guy, the main guy.
Runs the Glen, I should say. He is
Yeah.
the Monarch. And I was like, dude, I love Monica the Glen. And he was like, proper like, he didn't literally say fuck off, but he may as well have said fuck off. And I was a bit I was a bit hurt by it.
Where was that? Where did you see it?
In London, just walking about. If it would be great if I saw him in the Glen.
I saw Ben Fogle in Notting Hill once.
Oh yeah.
I've told you this story.
Oh, I always get confused because as a child I actually thought Ben Fogle was a prince. I thought he was one of the princes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he may as well be. He was good mates with them. I think they all played on the same football team.
Oh right, yeah.
I think they were friends. I saw Ben Fogle, and I've always had this strange thing with when I've ever bumped into in the wild. If I've bumped into like a famous face or something like that, I always have a strange feeling that I think we all get it.
That you shouldn't or should or should.
Well, I don't know who they are.
Yeah.
And I think that I know them, so I'm like, oh, hey man, how's it going? It happened on Chapel Street in Penzance with Gok Wan.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah.
Like I sort of stopped right in front of him. Was like, oh hey man, all right?
Yeah.
And he was like, uh-huh.
Oh, and then you realise kind of who
like,
it is.
You're Gok Wan. He was like, yeah. And I was like,
I'm Gok too.
I'll leave you. Until I left him alone. But Ben Fogle, it's similar. You tell a story about how you met.
Oh, well, Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah.
Such a tragic time.
Yeah, it was similar to that. I think in that, like, I saw the old Fogs, and I'm not at all a fan of his in any way. I mean, what does he do? Country file.
It was a country file. It's still one of the best insults. Like, fucking country file. Get out of my pub. What was I going to say there? He did a show that was about a zoo.
Yeah.
And it was about a very particular zoo that was owned by that eccentric kind of artiste, bohemian, sex addict guy who's Lord
Longley.
Sutherland. Is it Lord Longley? Yeah,
Is it?
yeah.
Yeah.
God, we should talk about him next episode. I need to do a bit of research into Lord Longley. I know nothing about him. Sounds like a legend.
Yeah, fucking right he does. Yeah, you look like him. But yeah, I bumped into him and was like, I walked past him, but as I was walking past him, I was like staring right at the guy, and he was like walking. I was like, and then I turned around and sort of noticed, and I was like, "Oh, you're Ben Fogle," and he just went. And I went, and then he carried on leaving. I thought, you dickhead.
Yeah, exactly.
He just sort of went,
yeah,
it's all right.
Oh, yeah.
Or I am the prince.
Yeah.
The prince of country fire.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe he's just sick of people confusing him with the prince. That must happen a lot.
Yeah.
But you know what they say?
He's sick of paupers like me. Like,
yeah.
Recognising him.
Maybe he just thought you were one of like
validating his career.
He thought you were one of the many animals of Longley. He's just trying to like hold
He's like, get away from me. He thought I was a fucking radioactive cat.
But you know what they say, man? They say never ogle the Fogle.
Oh, of course. And I did.
That's so bad. I was trying to say that for ages.
Were you?
Yeah. I want to get down to a somewhat more serious subject, unrelated to animals.
All right.
I feel like when we're talking about Ben Fogle, we are still talking about animals. But because he's a fucking animal.
Yeah.
But what was I going to say? So the eclipse tonight is the.
It's right now.
It's right now.
It's
so
right
can
now.
we see it?
Yeah, I was watching it live on New Scientist a second ago.
Wow, but I mean,
Not
like,
a
can we
second
see
ago.
it with our?
No, North America.
Oh right, okay.
North America.
Because so I was reading an article that was saying that people, especially on the internet, have started to report strange feelings.
Oh, nice.
That they're like, I've started to I can't sleep at night. The closer we get toward this eclipse, I'm feeling sick. My appetite's all out of whack. All sorts of shit.
I've had a real staunch desire for kebabs.
Yeah.
Do you think that?
I actually have as well.
Yeah, I think that's got something to do with it.
Yeah, I'm getting to the point now. I've had so many kebabs over the last few weeks that I'm no longer fitting into XL shirts.
That's such bollocks.
It's serious. I'm moving into the XXL.
And
That hasn't happened to me. It's actually happening. I'm having to dispose of shirts that I've had, but now I've got this huge pregnant kebab gut, shandy gut. Anyway, so maybe I have been affected by the eclipse that we can't see.
I think it's the eclipse making people need to eat kebabs more.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's the
because they're running dry. I was in the kebab shop and there's no
there's nothing on the
thing.
Nothing on the meat.
Yeah.
The meat wagon.
And there's people outside, sort of they look hungry and their eyes are drooped and they're like, but they've got 2 or 3 kebabs in their hands. They're eating kebabs.
So it's like Ben Fogle in the dark,
yeah, just like
devouring a meat and chips.
Yeah, just necking pints of chili sauce. Fucking,
but
he's a total fucking animal.
So NASA have come out. I think it was NASA. It could have been anyone really, but I think it was NASA. And they've come out and they've said, enough is enough, guys.
Just stop.
It's not. You can't be affected by the eclipse. And then it just said underneath that, it said 2 other lines. The middle line just goes, and anyone who does so happen to be affected by the eclipse, you're perfectly healthy all the other times throughout the year or something. And I was like, what do you mean by that, NASA? Aren't you then highlighting that it is doing something? And then their third line confuses everything. It goes, however, animals may be affected by the eclipse. As their clocks, their body clocks are decided nocturnally by some kind of special shit. And I was like, hang on a minute. Why? How are we different at all from animals?
No, that's always been a big mistake, isn't it?
What's going on there? Are they actually saying that animals, that what makes us different to other creatures is that we're not
affected by the eclipse?
The
circadian rhythm.
But maybe I just got the wrong end of the stick when I was on the wrong end of the kebab, the meat wagon.
You were on the wrong end of the skewer, my friend.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know. But it sounded to me like NASA was saying that we're not animals. And
we're not animals. You can't be affected, but if you are, you're fine normally. And anyway, it's only animals.
Yeah, I was like, thanks, NASA. That's great. Do you remember that? Didn't they say we can't go back to the moon? We don't have the materials.
They definitely said that.
I was like, what do you mean you don't have the materials?
Yeah, they definitely said that.
Do you think that they're not available anymore? Or are you saying? And also,
I think what they're saying is it would be too expensive to gather the materials back together.
They're saying it's actually not worth our time.
I think what they're saying is no one will fucking shell out.
Did I hear the other day though? Did India actually go to space recently? Did they go to the moon?
Nice.
Were they the third up? Third up.
No one's been to the moon for ages. Nah, people would know. There are people who's watching that. No one, but people are sending stuff to the moon willy nilly, aren't they?
Well, maybe it was like a probe then.
I think willy nilly.
Maybe they did. Maybe they said. Maybe it was like a probe that they launched or something like that. I'm not sure what it was.
People are in space all the time and they send buggies to the moon. Mm-hmm. But no one's sending the people in space to the moon.
No, so it's the only place that there's.
You've got to get through the iridium.
Oh, that's true. The radioactive band.
Yeah.
Yeah. That really shows.
That's also something as well, because you ask how did you get through the iridium band? They just went, well, we didn't know about it then.
Yeah. So they just got. So they just went through.
That's for real though.
Didn't they give them something to ease their radiation sickness anyway though?
They do, but they did, but they didn't know about the iridium. They didn't know about that then.
But does that mean that they were?
No, I'm thinking about the iridium belt. Oh no, the iridium
I don't know
band.
what
That's
it's called.
not.
Oh no, that's the dinosaurs. Iridium, right?
Yeah,
iridium
band.
But it's a radioactive belt, right? That's
what
you're talking about. It's in space.
Shout out to Don Glue.
Yeah, exactly. Shout out to Don Glue and the Iridium Band.
Yeah.
We're just literally tagging like Fukushima Dolphin and Don Glue.
Yeah.
They're both like, why have you fucking summoned me here?
Yeah. But if for all listeners, if there are any, Don Glue and the Iridium Band, Dinosaur Movies.
Dinosaur Movies, incredible song.
Just listen to it.
And they, from an album, Dinosaur Tracks. I don't know if they're available on YouTube, but certainly worth a Google. I'll try to put the link in the comments.
Okay. Nice.
But just educational dinosaur themed songs, but performed with such charm.
They're really
at
good.
Such a high quality.
Yeah, it's great.
That even if you weren't into dinosaurs, they're just great tracks.
Yeah, it's so good.
I have no idea why they don't have a massive following.
Yeah,
it's just incredible, just truly one of a kind.
Really great.
But that's a shame we can't actually see the eclipse from where we are.
I saw a video of it. I mean, it's nighttime now, so you wouldn't be able to see it anyway because the sun's not out. It's like it's out the other side.
It's the solar eclipse, right?
Yeah.
And which is the moment that the moon gets in between.
Yeah. In between us and the sun.
Right. Yeah.
And then
Earth. I almost forgot about Earth.
And then they call
moment.
the other
I was
bit.
like, what's the other bit?
Yeah.
That's like when you forget that you're there, like when you're doing something,
Yeah.
like trying to count everything, but you're not counting yourself.
Yeah, you're like, I swear there was two of us. There's one.
Yeah, it's like ultimate selflessness. You're like, oh, I don't exist. I'm just this ghost, this overseer.
Setting an extra place at the table
For Ben Fogle.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like trying to make a peace offering.
So everyone can ogle the Fogle. I'd love that. I just hire Fogle and say, come hither, Fogle, and sit here while we ogle you, Fogle.
It must actually be difficult for a man like that, who clearly holds himself in such high esteem, to only be famous for one thing, and that's like just walking past a zebra, presumably like handling some warm elephant dung at one stage.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Delicately though.
Yeah.
I'm sure he does it delicately. Yeah.
One day he'll be in one of the cages. The rest of the animals.
Ever climbed a mountain, ever caught a fish, ever looked to the stars and made a wish, ever shot a bow and arrow in the dead of night, ever read a map, ever flew a kite, ever put yourself to the test. Do your best.
Very nice.